Happy Saturday everyone. I hope you've had a lovely day indoors, being creative, doing some nice activities with your families. I've been very productive in the world of River Baker. I've come up with lots of creative activities for you guys that I'll be sharing online, as well as reading the chapters, and I'll also be posting them on the riverbaker.com website, so make sure you check it out. Make sure you keep checking, and hopefully you'll enjoy some of those activities. Let's go and get comfortable and ready for chapter 5. So here we go. Chapter 5, The Butterfly Pen. River snatched the fake book from Kit's hand and reached inside, taking the tiny butterfly from its compartment. She was sure it must be for the window at the end of the room. It had to fit into the engraving she had found. "Kit," River said agitatedly. So many thoughts were racing inside her head she couldn't keep up with them. "Keep an eye on that pen, will you? I'm going to check something." She didn't have to ask. Kit was standing mesmerised by the flutter of light that was now illuminating the desk. "How are you doing that?" she asked the pen. She reached for it in slow motion, clearly not wanting to disturb it, as though it were a real live butterfly sitting on her desk. Her fingers wrapped themselves around the golden stem, and she carefully pulled the pen up to meet her eyes. As soon as it was in her hand, she began to write rapidly on a clean sheet of paper that seemed to have been waiting patiently on the desk for the pen's ink. Torn between watching what Kit was doing and her own idea, River ran to the window and pulled the curtains back. She ran her fingers along the windowsill until she found the engraving. She pushed the golden butterfly into it, expecting it to fit, but it didn't. Full of frustration, she yanked the curtains closed again, but she had forgotten completely about the loose rail. The wall released the final screws that had kept the rail attached, and the curtains came crashing down on top of River. "Ah!" she screamed, frightened by the unexpected heaviness of the cloth. All these strange happenings were starting to put her nerves to the test. The curtains completely cocooned River, leaving her tangled in the purple rags. She could hardly breathe for fabric and dust. "Help me!" she bellowed as the material swallowed her up into darkness. "Help!" Kit didn't even notice her sister's plight. She seemed bewitched by the pen and couldn't stop writing. Something had taken her over, and she needed to get the words out and onto paper. It seemed to be a matter of urgency. River punched her fists into the curtains until she found an opening. She pulled herself into the light, gasping for air. The room had now become so bright she could barely see Kit. She climbed out of the curtains and put the golden butterfly safely into her pocket. "What are you doing, Kit?" she screeched. "Put the pen down and let's get out of here." She ran towards the door. Kit stopped for a split second to consider what River had said, but immediately went back to writing, scribbling so fast that it made River uncomfortable. River stood waiting at the door, but Kit kept on like a robot, writing faster than any human could. She obviously had no control over her hand. The pen was writing all by itself, and Kit was merely a prop, so its tip could glide over the paper. "Kit!" River said, panicking. The more Kit wrote, the brighter the room became. She was going through sheet after sheet of paper. "I'm going now," River threatened, but even as the words left her mouth, she knew she didn't mean it. No matter how annoying her twin could be, River could never leave her here by herself, especially as she was the one who had got them into this mess in the first place. The room felt as though it was spinning, and River began to feel a little nauseous. Her tummy filled with butterflies, ferociously trying to escape. She desperately wanted to leave. She felt a wave of regret rush through her body. If only she could turn back the clock. She would have stayed out of here just as Nana had told her. The light continued to fill the space like a thick fog. Before long, River had to shield her eyes, once again blinded by the intensity of it. The power of the light and the sickness in her stomach made River drop to her knees on the dusty old carpet. Then, suddenly, everything went dark around her, and she gave in to the force of gravity, letting her whole body collapse onto the scratchy floor beneath her. River was sure she hadn't fainted, but it felt that way. Maybe the curtain rail had banged her on the head a little harder than she thought. Her head felt fuzzy, her eyes were sore, and her body weighed a ton. so much so that she dared not try to lift herself off the floor. "Kit," she croaked, hoping to hear Kit's voice. When there was no answer, she began to panic. "Kit!" "It's all right, River. I'm still here." Kit softly put one hand on River's back, rubbing it gently. River turned her head slowly in Kit's direction, then rolled onto her back so she was looking up at the ceiling. The room had stopped spinning and the light had gone, but there was a lingering haze of mist hanging directly above her head. As she took in the room around her, she saw a change in the way it looked. She couldn't put her finger on it, though, especially not through her clouded eyes. "Come on, slow coach," Kit said, bending over and sticking her face right over River's. "I've been waiting ages for you to wake up." River waved her out of the way, wafting the mist in another direction at the same time. She was still too dazed for the kind of energy Kit had right now. "What do you mean, ages? It's been like a minute." "Whatever." Kit stretched out her arm to help River back on her feet. The swirling in River's stomach was fading and she was beginning to feel a little less fragile. She gingerly propped herself up on her elbows and took a good look at the room again. It was different. The walls were a brighter white and the desk looked brand new. And the window, it was open, blowing a cool breeze into the room. River welcomed it, noticing how good it felt on her face. She took a deep breath and moved her head slowly back to look at Kit's expectant arm. After River," Kit repeated in her best Starship Commander voice. "Come on, I haven't got all day," she said, shimmying her hand in front of River's face. River stretched out her right arm and their two hands met. River and Kit were close as sisters, despite the difference in their personalities, but never before had River felt how she felt when their two palms met now. An electrifying rush of energy forced its way out of both of their hands, melding their bodies together as one, a connection only the two of them could feel. It pulsed through them both, letting River know that, with Kit by her side, there was nothing within this room that could scare her. Together, they were a force to be reckoned with. River had always known that being a twin was special, but today, for the first time, she noticed a reflection of herself in Kit's eyes that was more than a mirrored image of two girls who looked very similar. Now she could see that they shared something, a secret. But what was it? Feeling more excited than scared now, River returned Kit's smile, and with her sister's help, she pulled herself to her feet. The two girls found themselves standing next to each other, hand tightly in hand, facing the giant window that was inviting them to walk through. River glanced over her shoulder. She sensed that, regardless of whether she wanted to or not, there would be no going back. "Are you ready?" Kit said. "Ready for what?" River replied. "A star-tastic adventure." River giggled. Neither of them had used that word since they were really little, when they used to play for hours and hours travelling around their very own star-tastic galaxy. In that instance, a beautiful white butterfly flew in through the window and landed on River's forearm. The hairs on her arm stood up like soldiers, and she shivered as a warm tingle spread through her body. "Okay, let's go," she said to Kit and the butterfly. "Hang on a minute." Kit ran over to the desk. She picked up some pieces of paper and folded them into a perfect square, popping them into her pocket along with the butterfly pen. Somehow, I don't know how, I'm sure I'll be needing these. She walked back over to River and grabbed her hand once again. And then, with the white butterfly gently fluttering between them, they strode side by side towards the window that led them out into the unknown. Join me tomorrow for chapter 6, where we will be meeting Eddie, and I won't tell you who Eddie is, but he's a very, very important character and a very, very important tree in the world of RALA.